Life is challenging for us a lot of times, and I'm always trying to look at things that I find really beautiful.
James Hill once stated, "A metal sculptor struggles for extraordinary precision and economy to reveal the fragile beauty of human life in an unyielding material world." Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Art Dimensions podcast. I'm your host, Whitney Rosenson, the owner and president of Art Dimensions, and this is Beyond the Palette. I am thrilled because today I will be chatting with James Hill, an amazing sculptor on my roster. So let's get started. Hi, James.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Welcome to Beyond the Palette.
Thank you. Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're here, of course, and thank you for making the time to chat. The quote that I just mentioned talks about revealing the beauty of human life in an unyielding material world. Can you tell us what that means to you?
Life is challenging for us a lot of times, but I'm always trying to look at things that I find really beautiful. And my main inspiration is the human figure and just forms in general. And I try and boil them down the best I can to reveal the beauty in a simple way, but an intriguing way, hopefully. You know, my stuff is abstracted figures, so I'm really taking out a lot of the details of the figure, trying to get it into more of a form that is suggestive, doesn't have a lot of the details. So in that way, the precision is getting the most important lines to me that inspire me into the sculpture. That takes a lot of doing for me.
Yeah, and a lot of finesse, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Where are you from originally, and what was your experience like growing up? When you were little, did you love art or sculpting?
I drew a lot. I drew things at the time that I was interested in for a little kid. Weird pictures of people or tanks and army stuff or different things like that, cars.
Little boy stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So when did you decide to become a sculptor?
Got really interested. My peak interest started in college, really. Before that, when I was really young, I was really into sports and other things like that. Then, when I entered college, I entered as a creative writing major. And I had done, some art and ceramics and jewelry and all kinds of different things like that. But I hadn't specifically thought when I entered college that I was going to be a sculptor.
I'm sorry, you went to UC Santa Cruz?
Right, right.
Okay.
But I think my very first quarter there, one of my dorm roommates walked in and said, "Hey, I'm going to take this drawing class. Do you want to check it out?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure," And we were doing really quick sketches of nudes and different kinds of things, and all of a sudden it was like, "Wow, this is really interesting." So as my college went on, I decided to become a double major, so creative writing major and art major. And then by the time I finished, it was just sculpture. So I really fell in love with it.
Okay, so sculpture, you really started when you were what, 22?
Yeah, something. Yeah, I
Somewhere around
mean,
there.
I was doing it through college, but I don't think it was until around college was almost over that I decided to go in that direction.
Do you remember, was there anything specific that inspired you to get into sculpting? I mean, was it that drawing class that friend came in and said, "Hey, do you want to join me in this drawing class?" Or was it just all of the art classes that you took in college? Or
Yeah, I think it developed over time. Beginning into these art classes in college, I wasn't necessarily thinking I wanted to make a career out of it. And I must say that my dad is a sculptor.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he, throughout my life, he wasn't always doing it for a living, but it always seemed to come so naturally to him. I had all these other interests as a kid, and I didn't really think about that as being a career as well. Wasn't like, oh, I want to be just like dad. It wasn't like a bad thing or anything. It was just I was kind of following my own interests. But as I started to get older and maybe mature a bit, then I saw the beauty in it. And then of course I was didn't realize how hard it would be to make a living at it. I thought, oh, let's go for the big challenge. But
I hear you. I thought this was really interesting. I read this in, I think it was your artist statement. You talk about conveying universal emotions with which we can all identify in your sculptures. What are some of these emotions?
I think my work is more celebratory. The work that I do isn't tortured or angry
Pained,
or
right?
yeah, it's much more fluid motions. So dance has been really something that I got a lot out of in terms of, I have a still piece of art, but I'm trying to convey some kind of motion with it and gesture, like they are moving, even though they're really not. So I think they're much more trying to convey a real relaxed, fluid motion in a celebratory mood, kind of going towards the positive and optimism and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and they're so the scope I have 2 of your pieces here in my home, and they're both very curvy and sensual. What materials do you use, and what's your favorite?
Right now, I'm almost exclusively working in stainless steel. I like steel. I've worked in it a ton, and I like bronze a lot. But I use the same kind of fabrication method with the bronze and the steel that I do with the stainless steel. Somehow, even though stainless is a very stiff, hard metal, and so it's hard to bend it and hard to grind it and finish it. For some reason, I've just been really attracted to that. I mean, once you do get the shape that you want, it's really, really durable. And I like the finishes that I get. I like that once I do sand it and finish it, I don't have to put anything on it. I don't have to coat it, that kind of thing. It won't change on me. Like bronze and steel want to oxidize, and which has its own beauty to it. For some reason, stainless. I've been kind of on this kick for a while now.
And when you say fabrication process, what does that mean?
The way that I create them, after I have the designs and everything that I know what I want to make, the material starts out in big flat sheets, 4 by 10 foot sheets, and I cut out the shapes in these big sheets, and then I form them together. And if you look at the pictures of my work, you can see they're like 4, 5, 6 sided pieces. I bend them together and clamp them and start tacking these pieces with a welder into place, and the form kind of develops.
So cool.
Yeah, and then I weld up all the seams and grind them off so it looks like one solid piece. And there's plenty of people that really do think that they're solid and they don't understand that they're hollow, which is the illusion that I want to have.
You do the welding too?
Yeah, I do all the fabrication and finishing. Yeah.
So fantastic. So the pieces are hollow, but I'm looking at the one called Jewels right now, which is on my website. And so everybody knows you can check out James's images on my website, which is artdimensionsonline.com. They look heavy and they're not that heavy. So because they're hollow, right?
Yeah, they're shockingly light compared to how they look. It's true. Like a piece that's, say 3 feet tall, single figure on a desktop is at the most 40 pounds. Some of them are as light as 15 pounds. So
Wow.
yeah, when people pick them up, they're like, "Oh, I can actually carry this with me." Yeah, I can.
Do you have any in your home?
Oh yeah. No, I love to live with them. and I move them around. And if I go do a show and I come back, then I'll sometimes put different ones in different places. And my wife moves them around a bit. It's fun. I like having a lot of art in my life.
And in your home. Yeah. Yeah, me too. Definitely. Okay, I know that you are big into public art. Can you just explain a little bit for people listening what that means? Maybe tell us a few places we can spot your art installations.
Sure. Well, in the LA area, there's one big one in front of Industrial Metal Supply, which is in Sun Valley, and that one's about 30 feet tall. And then there's another big one in Mission Viejo in front of a hospital, Mission Hospital there. Yeah, I haven't been doing as much public sculpture lately. It's a whole different formula. It requires applying to many projects and going through a big process to get them, and it's more of a group thing. It can be really fun. I enjoy it, but lately I've been doing more of the private because I can create exactly what I want and put that out into a gallery or a show. The collectors, they see it and they like it or they don't, and I don't have anyone else to talk to about it.
Yeah, it's not
It's a much more simplified thing. It's much more direct to what I want to do and my own thoughts and ideas and inspirations.
I understand that.
Little more pure in that way. The big projects are great too, but for a few years now, I've been more focusing on just what I want to do.
So those are private commissions. Now that we're living in this time of COVID, I have to ask, has COVID affected your process at all?
Well, it definitely took me out of the showing of the work, doing art fairs and stuff like that. I don't do that now at all, but it's been fine. Actually, I've been really enjoying the time not doing as much of the that kind of thing and more focusing on what am I inspired by. And fortunately, I've had sales come in here and there and keeping me going, and so I'm not starving, and actually trying to enjoy the time. Of course, the bad part is being, isolation and stuff like that. But my wife and I have been out traveling in our little RV and riding mountain bikes, and it's been really, really fun. I feel blessed to be in a good place during COVID.
That's awesome.
Hope we all get the freedom soon, to get back to business.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And vaccinations first and then freedom.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Do you find your work challenging?
Oh yeah, definitely. Even though my method, I have really gotten it down, it is challenging. And actually do get some injuries from it. What I'm getting arthritis in my elbow from all the physical grinding and stuff like that.
Oh,
And so
no.
it's like getting tennis elbow, but it lasts like 9, 10 months every time. That's been kind of slowing me down a little bit.
And that comes from the holding the tools or
Right,
okay.
right. And a lot of kind of intense physical repetitive motions. But, some people call it grinder's elbow. Actually, I think you can get it from mountain biking too.
So you might have gotten it from mountain biking.
Exactly. But I've had it in the past too, and I know that it's from this kind of work. But it does go away, and I'm always trying to improve my methods to be healthier, and so I can keep going for as long as possible.
How many sculptures would you say? I mean, this is probably a crazy question, but how many do you think you've created in your lifetime?
I don't know. I didn't keep track. I sometimes think, wow, I should have just made a tally, but I never did. I don't know if it's been 1,000, but I mean,
Probably close to that.
hundreds and hundreds for sure. And plus, there's been these big ones that would take 6 months, and then there's ones that I can almost knock out in a day. So
And the big ones that take 6 months, those aren't the public installations. Those are
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I've never spent that much time on something that would be for a private commission.
right. Okay. Can you explain to us how your work is a metaphor for the human condition? Because you did mention that. I have an idea, but I want to know what you think.
The metaphor really was that I have these really stiff, hard materials. To fabricate them is difficult, and when the piece is done, it's a very solid, something that could last probably thousands or tens of thousands of years. Like having to be really formidable to get through life. We all have it, regardless of our circumstances. We have our self-critic, we have our things that we have to go through to get through life, and it seems very difficult at times. But then on the other hand, this same very rigid object can look so smooth and sensuous, like it's flowing almost. We hopefully all have a lot of times when we're relaxed and we see the beauty in life, but then comes around that something happens and we have to be tough to get through it. That's kind of how I was thinking about it.
So interesting. And I think of the word flexibility what just now when you were talking, the materials are inflexible, but as a human being, you need to be flexible at times.
Hmm.
And your sculptures certainly look more flexible than inflexible.
Yeah.
So they're really beautiful. Well,
Thank,
James, thank you so much for talking with me today. It's been fantastic. Thanks so much. And hope
thank
everyone
you.
of course, hope you guys have a great day.
Thanks. You too. Good to see you.
Thank you so much, James. And thank you, artists and listeners, for tuning in to Art Dimensions Beyond the Palette. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite platform, follow us on Good Pods, and tell a friend about the podcast. As always, you can check out the works of artists on this show by visiting artdimensionsonline.com. Happy creating!